What is up, everybody? It is your boy Farai. Thank you once again for tuning into another video. So we're going to be doing another question and answer. Stick around for that. Shout out to everyone for all the questions in the comment section. So let's get straight into the video. Also make sure to smash like as well as to subscribe so I can keep making videos. So yeah, let's get into the first question. Ahmed says, do you record the vocals completely dry or do you add effects? So that is a pretty common question, and my best answer is record with the effects on that you like. Obviously, you want to make sure you're not recording with high latency plugins like Isotope, for example, will add 40 seconds of 40 milliseconds of delay, that kind of stuff. You want to, record without EQs. That's generally what I do. I don't record with any EQs, so I'll record with a compressor on so that I can just get the good leveling going, right? And then I'll record with auto-tune if I am singing, so that way I know exactly what the melody of my song is going to be like. You know what I mean? In terms of effects send, so I will generally record with reverb in the background as an effect send. I will record with a tiny bit of delay just to get that kind of stereo effect going, as well as using flanger, so either I'll use my H3000 for some flanger just to get a bit of like a nice sweetened sound to my vocals, just as a rough mix. But other than that, I'm not doing too much, man. I'm doing basic leveling, so I pull the beat down as much as I need, and then I gain match my vocals so that I'm getting a good level, and then that's kind of going to be the level of the whole track. From there on out, once I'm done recording, I'm going to start doing a bit of EQ cuts and that kind of thing, just to clean up the mix. And that's really the whole process as it should be. You shouldn't need to overcomplicate things. That's why I always tell people to focus on getting the sound good beforehand. That way it's easy when you start mixing. So hopefully that answers your question. Electric Yemzi says, I mix my own music and your videos are a great help. 100 emoji. Keep grinding, bro. Thank you, man. It's people like you who keep the channel alive. I love to post videos to continue, kind of the info that I've learned along the way. So yeah, man, if that helps you, keep it moving, you know what I mean? Even if, for everyone out there who might not become like a professional mixer or whatever, mixing is such a great sport for the mind, you know what I mean? It teaches you really to look at the problem at hand, deal with that problem, and, walk away with learning something, you know what I mean? So, regardless, it's really a good weekend sport. I recommend those who play too many video games to mix more, you know what I mean? Because that way, this is way more of a harder game to play, because there are way more things and problems that you can kind of work on and solve, you know what I mean? And if you keep your brain fresh, you'll do great in life. So shout out to you, man. It's Snape Beats asks, where can I buy Antares Autotune? Is it expensive? Thank you for your answer. Love your YouTube channel. Yeah, Antares.com. I'm pretty sure that's the website. But just search Antares Autotune on Google. Black Friday is coming up, so you will be able to get a discount probably. Autotune has always been quite expensive. It is a really good sounding plugin, so I can understand why it would cost as much. But there are cheaper versions of Autotune. They're just more restricted in what you can do. I think the cheapest version of Autotune has always been Autotune EFX. Now, don't be fooled that they sound worse or whatever. It doesn't matter, alright? 21 Savage recorded Savage Mode using the EFX plugin. Alex Tomei said that, and that album did really well. So it's really not, which version or whatever. It's more so how you're using it. In my opinion, I could sing with any Autotune, but I need to listen to it while recording, so that way I can hear exactly what the outcome's going to be. You know what I mean? You wouldn't want, in hip-hop, you don't really want to allow the engineer to add Autotune because there are going to be certain phrases and stuff that might not sound good with Autotune. Some engineers will do the Melodyne and that kind of thing. But generally in hip-hop, you've seen people like Future, they record straight to Autotune, you know what I mean? One thing to consider about the version of Autotune is, Autotune 5, for example, did not have low latency mode, I don't think so. Maybe Autotune 4 downwards didn't have low latency mode. So that means that it added a really long delay onto your vocals and it made it almost impossible to record. And that's why they came out with Autotune Real Time, and then they came out with Autotune 8.1, which had the real-time function on it, or the low latency mode, which only added 3 milliseconds of delay, and that's the one I still use to this day. So pick whichever one you like and the one you can afford and make some good music. All of the latest versions do have low latency mode, so that's pretty cool, so keep that in mind. Lil Maxkey says, my vocals still sound like alright, so usually, man, this is the thing with YouTube, right, is when you watch a video, you're stepping into a scenario, right? For example, if I'm showing you a track that I've mixed, I'm showing you the track that I have, which we can look at as a scenario, and then I'm showing you exactly what I did to kind of work on the scenario and make it better, right? So the thing that I can recommend when you watch YouTube videos is to look at the scenario that I had, right? Check out the dry mix. Usually sometimes I will play the dry vocals, and then you start to understand. But generally while I'm explaining, I'm saying I did this because of this, right? So that way, if I say I did a cut around 300 hertz, the goal for you is not to do a cut at 300 hertz. maybe to start with a cut at 300 hertz and then start to skim around and see if there are similarities between the problems that I have and you have with your vocals. Now, generally, a lot of the times, you might be recording in, for example, a echoey sounding room, right? And you might not be able to identify that, oh, it's the echo that's making the vocal sound bad. Maybe you're too close to the microphone. These kinds of things would add on to how your mix is going to sound. So that's why I always say focus on the way in first. So you know what I mean, how are you setting up your microphone? Did the vocal sound too bassy? All right, drop the mic or lift the microphone up a little bit. You know what I mean? If it sounds too treblish, maybe you're too far away. So address all of those issues first, and the more issues you address beforehand, the easier mixing becomes. The less plugins you end up with, unless it's pop music or trap music, then you can stack plugins all you like. But you get what I'm saying, is listening for what the problem is at hand and then dealing with that problem. You know what I mean? So solo out the problem, write it down if you need to. But yeah, that's generally how I look at vocals. So yeah, Bale says, I get much delay when recording. I can't even speak right. FL12 was just fine. So yeah, I mean, definitely FL12 was stable, but I mean, once FL20 kind of creased out most of the bad issues, it's really stable, man. I run FL Studio 20.0.3, and for me, that is a really good version to run. I barely have any crashes. If I do have a crash, it's usually because of a plugin. I know that the Ulean loudness meter, the free version, crashes my FL, and that's pretty much the only plugin that I've ever seen crash FL. It works solid. I record nowadays with 32 samples of latency, so that sounds really good for me, and I don't have any crashes. I record full sessions at that latency and I have no crashes, and then I enable Acoustica plugins and then I turn my latency up and everything's fine. I do outboard routing now, but it does not work with just one signal, so I have to send, for example, if I do a mix, I'll send the beat out into a compressor or something and the vocals out into another compressor or something, and then return them into FL Studio, and the latency is always the same. So FL Studio is definitely not perfect, but it still works as good as Pro Tools, for example. So I'm fine with FL20. I know some people like FL12, and that's fine too, because they all work. FL20.0.1 was a glitched out version, you know what I mean? But FL have kind of creased them out, and I'm sure the latest one sounds even better. So, or not sounds, but works better. Yeah. All right, here's a long question. Hey, for a long time sub, you've helped me with my music on vocal processing, but is there any chance you can give us a full video on automation clips for effects and how to use them? You should come out with a mixing course, more in depth on mixing vocals start to finish. So yeah, man, thank you for the comment. And I will, if you guys are interested, comment below if I should do a really in-depth course, then I'll kind of sit and show you my full process. But that does take a while, and generally, it does take really long to film these kind of things. I mean, sometimes it takes me an hour to record a song or whatever. And, for me, the reason I don't do more kind of live mixing videos and stuff is just because for me, the process is like I sit down and I really focus on getting the mic position right. So if you're interested in a video like that, definitely comment below. Automation clips, there are lots of videos, for example, for EDM on teaching automation clips. I don't think it's that much different for hip hop vocals, how to enable delay, that kind of thing. I have done one automation clips video, so you can go check that out. Shout out to you, man. Bean says, Farai, I've always wanted to know what kind of computer you have. Alright, so my computer is a custom build. I live in South Africa, so there's a company called Eve Tech that did my build for me, and it was just so on that site, and I'm sure many other sites, you can choose the kind of CPU you want to base your build around. So I based mine around the i9, is it an i9 or i7? I don't even know these days. I don't know, but it's a 9900K. And it works well. It's been overclocked to 4.6 gigahertz. It's always running at 4.6 gigahertz. And then when I'm rendering or using FL, it kind of hits over to like 4.8 or 4.7. But really stable. I've never gotten a crash due to the CPU. In terms of graphics card, I'm using a RTX 480 because I don't play games or anything like that. So that just worked out for me good cost-wise. I spend most of the money on the case as well as the not actually the case, the CPU. The hard drives, I've got quite a few hard drives, so I've got, I think, 3 hard drives on board installed. So one SSD running the OS and running my plugins, and then the other 2 for storage as well as just recording too. So I store a lot of my video files on there. On the 2, I've got 2 2TB drives, so 4 terabytes of storage, and I store Adobe files and that kind of thing, and I record all my vocals to another hard drive as well. So that's kind of my setup. It's nice and sweet and simple. And what else could I tell you about the setup? It's got silly RGB lights and that kind of thing. I'm thinking of upgrading the case to a silent case. I think that's one thing I need to do, but I obviously have to take this to a computer shop, so that's a lot of effort because I do get quite a bad I've got there's 7 fans in the thing, so it's pretty crazy. But the computer runs stable, it runs really well with FL. And it probably would run games well. I haven't played games in a long time. I've got my old build sitting there. My old build as well was a i5 8500, I think, if I'm not mistaken, running a slightly better 1080 GTX 1080. But yeah, I mean, they work well, man. You can do a lot these days. I recommend people to buy desktops over laptops, in my opinion. You know, I love setting up in a workspace and then working. You know, I'm not really on the run here and there, so you know, that's the computer runner. All right, David says him. Autotune sounds too robotic. Also him. Puts retune speed to 0. Alright, T-Sketch. Shout out T-Sketch. And another one. Big up to Farai. Thank you, bro. Question: is it possible to get max loudness on streaming sites mastering at -14 LUFS? Seems like songs lose punch and feeling. I've seen many other channels say to master at -11 LUFS and upload to DistroKid. I have Ozone 9. Do you have a tutorial on mastering as well? Alright, so that is a good question. So as I answered, I just wanted to kind of, you know, echo the message here. But basically what I say every time around is, when I look at a beat, for example, right, I'm also listening to the perceived loudness of the beat. You know, meters and audio meters and all these things can tell you all these values, but to me, it really comes down to what does the mid-range of the track sound like? What does the bass sound like in relation to the snare? You know, how is that loudness balanced? Because generally, what ends up happening, right, is you have a beat, and then the beat was mixed by, you know, somebody on headphones or somebody on laptop speakers, and then you release the beat, and then the beat has way too much bass in it and not enough treble in it. All right, that's generally how, you know, your more bedroom style of mixing occurs. So what ends up happening is you record your vocals to that unleveled beat, you mix and mangle it, and then it's just not leveled properly, so it doesn't perceive to be as loud as other tracks that may even have a lower LUFS. LUFS is only loudness relative to the overall song, you know what I mean? That doesn't really tell you how humans perceive that loudness. So that's a bit of a problem, you know, because we tend to perceive bass as louder, but remember, these cell phones don't have any bass subwoofers on them or whatever. So what ends up happening is you suck up so much more energy, you know, adding bass and stuff to your track, when really you should be focusing on really making that mid-range present so that your song can be perceived as louder. So for example, in nature, we'll hear a baby's cry because a baby's cry is around 5K, and that really pierces our hearing because, you know, we like triggered to listen to that sound. You know what I mean? So Google the Fletcher-Munson curve and you can kind of see how humans perceive sound and pain, and then find a good balance between getting that 5K range right, getting that 3K range right, and then making sure the bass is still present but not taking over the track to the point where you're losing headroom and, you know, your LUFS meter's at -9 but the song isn't really that loud. So, you know, it's an ongoing thing. It's something I'd have to make a whole video on, but I did answer that in one of the other question answers. So there's lots of info on YouTube as well as Gear Sluts. Go check out the Gear Sluts forum as well as you know, wherever else on Google. So yeah, man, ongoing discussion. Flock on the Beat asks, compression/vocal loudness video next. I could do that. That's definitely a video that I could do. I just need to think about how I would do it. I would probably show you with an analog style compressor because I want to show you the real thing, but then I'll also mix it with digital compression as well. I believe that those two go well together. In terms of just what I can say now, when it comes to vocal loudness compared to the beat, I love doing it beforehand, so I'll always drop the beat and then kind of, you know, touch up on my microphone gain and then match those two. Definitely check out my vocal recording course. I think I described it quite well. You can go and watch it in real time as well, so link in the description for that. Akame says, notification squad, shout out squad. Hey Farai, I hope all is well. When you make a template, do you base it off a vocal effect from one song, or do you listen to a bunch of their music and get a feel for what's similar in the mix in each song? Okay, so that is a good question, and I'm kind of going to answer it kind of further down the line. So when you've been mixing a long time and you've been listening to music a long time, you start to listen to certain things within a mix. You know, I can tell within 10 seconds if a song to me is mixed well or not. You know what I mean? That's just something that I've kind of trained my ears to do. You know, you start to listen to the relationship between things, and what makes mixing and music beautiful is that we all have a different perception on it, right? So the image in my head of what a good song is could be different from yours, but we can always share a similar kind of, you know, trait. You know, I've seen videos on YouTube where certain people say, oh, the mix doesn't sound good, right? For example, on like a music video or something, and to me, artistically, the mix is good. You know what I mean? Like a lot of, like the track Black and Chinese with Hancho Jack, like the song is really distorted, but because of that distortion, it creates the sonic character and color scheme kind of that goes on with the song. So, you know, we all perceive music differently, but to me, if I was to say, for example, okay, we're doing a Travis Scott vocal effect, then I would know the vocals need to be distorted, the beat needs to be pretty grungy, you know what I mean? It has a grungy tone to it. That's where we start using these terms, right? So for example, if I think of some of my favorite music, which is like Gucci Mane, Trap God 3, the mixes sound really professional. Now, professional to me means polished and cleaned up, meaning the vocal sits like water within the beat. You know what I mean? It's all stuff that is kind of hard to explain, but, you know, listen for the similarities in different songs, and, you know, listen to classical music as well, listen to smooth jazz as well, and, you know, step away from modern music, because modern music is generally really over-processed, and listen to some more natural sounding music, and then you can compare the two, you know what I mean? Because then you've got a reference, you know, okay, classical music kind of has space, and if I listen, I can hear the violin on a certain side, I can hear the trombones on a certain side, I can hear the drums down on the bottom, in the middle, you know what I mean? So start spacing out music. Kind of a good test, right, that I used to do is you can listen to a song and then plot the song out on a piece of paper, right? So what do you hear on the left side, on the top left side of the track? What do you hear on the top right side of the track? You know what I mean? You can do all sorts of things to help you train your mind to perceive sound better. So I know it's a lot of psychology type stuff, but it definitely will help with the mixing. So yeah. Alrighty, so those are all the questions that I have for today. Feel free to comment below any questions that you have for the next time I do a video. Should I do these every week? I don't know. But you know, hopefully that does answer some of your questions. Definitely check out the links in the description if you want to check out my vocal recording course, if you want some preset packs and that kind of thing. Definitely does help keep me motivated to keep running the channel. And you know, watch all the adverts that YouTube hits you with. Hey man, you know what I mean? But anyway, man, you don't have to. But yeah, I'll check you out next time. Peace out.